Welcome, good evening. Welcome to the Glens Falls Common Council meeting. It's Tuesday, January 24th. It is 7:30. We're ready for a regular session. We will start tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Lappo.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So now we'll go to public comment. If there's anybody from the public who'd like to address the Common Council, please let them stand forward and tell us their name and address. Seeing no one rush up to the stage. Peter, do we have anybody online?
No, there is.
Great. All right. So, not seeing any public comment, then we'll go to committee reports. Councilman Clark.
No report.
Councilman Donahue.
No, you have to wait.
All right. I will wait.
It's going through the classified document.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. All right. We had our sustainability meeting last Tuesday. I found out, I think we've been dealing with this like 3 years, the solar panel thing.
Solar, yeah, we've been looking at it.
I'll bring you an update here.
All right.
Glens Falls Financial and Site Analysis Update, Chris Harvey and Ben Cuozo. And they're talking about site recap, a review, bill analysis results, site review projects, site updates, next steps. Then we got the West Glens Falls Eastern landfill, which is the PCB site. And then we're talking about
That exit 18? Is that exit 18?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then they're talking about another site with the Civic Center.
Right.
And then we're talking about DPW buildings. And then the last site is the Civic Center. Landfill.
Yeah, the landfill's the first one.
Yeah. Okay. And City of Glens Falls has approximately $250,000 in annual electric expenses, excluding Civic Center. The 4 solar projects are economic under either remote crediting or community distribution generation configurations. Remote crediting offers higher revenue potential. CDG offers guaranteed bill savings and potential for community benefit. Can explore both options with an RFP, and behind the meter can be explored further for the Civic Center, but is unavailable for the DPW buildings.
Okay, so they do think it's worth exploring on the landfill? They do think it's worth exploring? Yes?
Yeah.
Which one?
So they said, go ahead, I'm sorry.
The PCB one.
Yes.
These people, which I named before, are asking the Department of General Services, State of New York, to get together with DEC and figure what's going on.
Okay.
And this could take 10 years for all we know.
Okay.
Because it's a PCB site, so I would suggest we maybe look for a 4th site in the city, just if this doesn't come through.
Okay.
All right? But the Eastern landfill under jurisdiction of New York State DEC, site information has not been updated since 1980. Discussion started with DEC on use of site for solar, ESCO for some city accounts. Next steps for the city is to review analysis and provide guidance to NIPA on which sites to move forward with. NIPA to provide authority program fee based on city's feedback. NIPA and city work towards execution of authorization to proceed, and NIPA to continue conversations with New York State DEC and Eastern Landfill, and NIPA to monitor U.S. Treasury for direct pay guidance. That's that. We also were talking about the use of electric vehicles, and that got into with the CDTA operating with working along with the Capital District Clean Communities Program, and upgrading buses to electric. And I don't know when we're going to see it up here, but someone said most of them will be in Albany right now. So,
Most of them are in Albany because that's where CBTA is.
so I think that's something that we look forward to in the future.
Okay.
Hopefully it's not 3 years.
Right.
There's
Okay.
also other opportunities for some other smaller vehicles that might be of value to us to explore. So,
Sure.
Well, they looked at how big those vehicles could be, and about the biggest it would be is before that 450, which, you know.
Right now with the current availability and.
Yeah, so.
We also had some discussions about police vehicles as well,
Yeah.
and, you know, that's where communities saw the most savings switching over to electric vehicles because, obviously they spent the most time running on the road, doing things and stuff like that. So, I mean, there are some other opportunities other than buses that, you know, we can, explore, some potentials there, and, so it's something where we might be able to save some money and get some vehicles down the road.
The meeting that we discussed this in was specifically with the Capital District Council, and they were talking about specific program for class 4 and 8 vehicles, but then completely presented something that didn't really deal with class 4 and 8 vehicles.
Okay.
But it was
interesting.
it was very fortuitous for us because it allowed us to have some other discussion that potentially could help the city, you know, in a different way.
Great. Well, and I had known that when I spoke to the different chiefs over the last year, their concern wasn't about the vehicles as much as the lights and the communications, that they were saying that the challenges they were aware of were about that, or maybe running them on a separate battery or whatever. That seemed to be the biggest challenge they were aware of. And they just said it that way. They said they thought that the electric vehicle in general was a great option. Their concern of what they've been hearing about was that that they couldn't use the same electrical system for their lights and for their communication system.
Yeah, you know, but we have other vehicles in the fleet that could potentially be, you know, electric vehicles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so,
Sure.
I mean, that's where I think maybe potentially that could be the starting point and, you know, roll out that way if there's funding for us to do that, you know, but it was a good discussion and it's one worth continuing.
And I believe the information, the way the chiefs indicated for me, is that there are people trying to tackle these things, that they might be the current challenges, but they didn't expect them to remain challenges for long, that they're always, that certainly the battery life and in the vehicles is changing all the time. They're reaching a what they call a market disruption right now. They're right there. You know, it's the special electrical things of those vehicles made them not feasible at the moment, but they felt like they were working on that, and other municipalities were working on it, that the market was driving those changes. So it might, even if it was a problem the last time they heard, it may not be for long. But I'm sure somebody's working on how to do this, maybe changing the light systems or siren systems so that they don't use as much energy. I assume when they developed those systems, they were thinking only of gas-powered engines and not on the capacity of an electric vehicle.
Well, as we get greener, which we should be doing, you know, businesses will come along with us, you know, that because municipalities and other entities will be want to do that.
Yeah.
So,
See, you didn't think you had anything to report.
yeah, I didn't know, and I apologize, Councilman, the first word for that, but I thought that other stuff other than the buses was exciting conversation.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Great. Anything further, Councilman Donahue?
No.
Councilman Landry, committee report?
Yes, the Labor and Personnel Committee will be having a Zoom Teams meeting conference call on Wednesday, February 1st. I believe it's at 1 p.m. I'm not sure. I think that's what it is. The people from Brown & Brown Insurance, and what we're looking to do is to further investigate affordable options that may be available to the city for retiree health insurance. And what Brown & Brown does is they work with a consortium that includes a number of municipalities and schools in an attempt to consolidate purchasing power for insurance, health insurance in particular for us. So hopefully at the next meeting we'll have a report on that.
Thank you. Councilwoman Palmer.
The Building and Codes Committee was supposed to meet on Monday, but we rescheduled because of the weather. There were some people who had to drive in from further, so we're going to be meeting on February 6th to continue looking at the forms and the process for our various inspections and permits that we're going to be rolling out. We do have a resolution on this agenda for the updated fee schedule, which we worked on over the last few months.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councilman Lapham.
Just about that CBTC program, one of the things with that program is it covers the incremental costs between diesel vehicle replacement and an EV. So if you had a diesel vehicle, you know, like a truck, and that truck for gas powered was $100,000, and you got an EV that could replace that truck that was $175,000. This program would pay right off the top 75 grand.
Wow.
So that's where the value was with that particular one versus a couple $1,000s for the state rebate.
Great. And that was a state rebate, and so do you have anything I can give to Tom Gerard to use to consider that? Or
I
did
thought
you already
Jeff
give
was
me
gonna
any
reach
message?
out. Yeah.
I'll follow up with Jeff Lapp.
Great,
Yeah.
great. We just want to make sure
Yeah.
there's anything that Tom, I don't
Well,
honestly.
and also Bill at the sewage plant might have some trucks too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So good. That would be awesome. Awesome.
So also we're sorry about that. Shuffles looks at notes. On February 1st, the Technology Committee will be meeting at 11 a.m. and the Climate Smart Community Task Force will be meeting at 7 p.m.
Thank you. Councilwoman Good, committee reports.
Yes, the special projects that meet, and we are continuing to work on the overnight parking, and we're still talking about the pilot program for each ward to suggest a street in your wards. The widest street, of course, we talked about. So we're still waiting for just a couple more people, and that's only going to be a pilot program, like you're saying. We also talked about contracting with someone to enforce towing for vehicles that are in violations in the permit-only areas. Also, we talked about identify city lots that offer overnight parking and institute snow emergency procedures to allow for street cleaning during snow events. Phase 2. City parking changes. Identify places for downtown workers to be able to park for their full shift. Discuss changing density and parking requirements in developments as we go. Detail the cost per parking space for parking structure in surface lot. So that's a lot in there, but it's just saying that, if you're gonna, it's a lot in there. We'll discuss it as we go. Determine streets that can handle parking, those that can't. So that goes along with the top. And we also have invited Jeff and Chip to our meeting because we want their input, because we also think that this is a community development, economic development issue also. And also, we are real fortunate to have Bob Curtis and
Megan?
Megan, sorry, Megan. Also, a part of our meeting, they're been very helpful, so.
Thank you. So let's see, we'll go, that's it for committee reports. We got voice vote. Let's see, voice vote. So, Resolution 1 is a resolution approving the minutes of the January 10th, 2023 meeting of the Glens Falls County Council. Resolution 2 is to approve the city clerk's 2022 end-of-year report as attached.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Under roll call vote, are there any items the council would like to pull for discussion?
11?
11. Great. Any other items council would like to pull? Fantastic. So, under roll call vote, Resolution 3 is a resolution to increase the revenue code A009999-1589A, miscellaneous public safety income by $4,500, and to increase the budget line code A23120-2500, other equipment by $4,500 for a lateral transfer. 4 is a resolution to increase the revenue code A0999-1589A by $528.77 to increase the budget expense code A23120-2060, police protective equipment by $528.77. 5 is a resolution to increase revenue code A00999-1589A, miscellaneous public safety income by $1,863, and to increase budget expense code appropriation A23120-4329, police safety surpluses by $1,863. 6 is a resolution to increase revenue code A0099999-1589A, miscellaneous public safety income by $199.99 to increase A23120-2100 furniture and furnishings by $199.99 for reimbursement of damage during warranty coverage. 7, a resolution to amend the City of Glens Falls annual 2022-2023 taxi fees, fares, and fine structure included in the local law 7-2022 and provisions in Chapter 198 of the Glens Falls City Code as attached. 8 is a resolution to adopt the proposed City of Glens Falls 2023 permit fee structure schedule pursuant to New York State Uniform Fire Code Prevention and Building Code for the City of Glens Falls for Building and Codes Department. 9 is a resolution to approve the grant award for the applicant 2021 HB-002 to purchase an eligible home located within the City of Glens Falls, Warren County, New York, in accordance with the Home and/or CBG program guidelines. The grant will not exceed $24,000. This resolution will also authorize the mayor and/or community development director to execute all required documents to implement this award. 10 is a resolution to approve the City of Glens Falls community development manual payments in the amount of $4,973.66. 11 is pulled. 12 is a resolution to increase FY 2022 budget line item number A45142-4367, snow removal, iron steel by $5,100, and decrease line item A45142-2400, snow removal by highway street equipment by $5,100. 13 is a resolution to increase the general fund expense account by A233104479 by $4,644.76, an increased general fund revenue account code account line A00999-2680 insurance recovery by $4,644.76. And as these funds are received to replace the street light at the intersection of Elm and Exchange Streets in Glens Falls. 14 is a resolution to retroactively approve an encroachment permit signed by Mayor Collins on January 9, 2023 for the Associates of Glens Falls to place a crane and a lift in front of 220 Glen Street, Glens Falls, on January 10th in 2023 to facilitate moving and renovation of materials into the third floor apartment while allowing pedestrians access adhering to all PROAG regulations. 15 is a resolution to retroactively approve the mobile food unit license application for Jack Celeste, DBA Coach's Corner, 199 Hatchery Road, Grandsburg, New York, as approved by Mayor Collins on January 17, 2023, to vend in front of the city park on a weekly basis from January 17, 2023 through December 31st, 2023. 16 is a resolution to retroactively approve encroachment permits signed by Mayor Collins on January 9th and 12th, 2023 for Nations Roof New England LLC, 420 Frontage Road, Suite 3, West Haven, Connecticut, to place a lift and a dumpster on Lapham Place to remove roof materials from 221 Glen Street from January 12, 2023 through January 31st, 2023, while allowing pedestrians access and adhering to all PROAG regulations. 17 is a resolution to retroactively approve encroachment permit signed by Mayor Collins, January 17, 2023, for Elizabeth Miller, owner of tax map number 309.28-4-3, commonly known as 126 Glen Street, Glens Falls, to construct a temporary structure on the front of the building from January 17th through March 1st, 2023, with the following stipulations from the City Code Enforcement Officer. A, temporary structure shall have signage and or barricades to prevent the public from entering the work area. B, the temporary door to this enclosure shall swing into the enclosure to prevent any accidental injury to pedestrians walking by. C, this encroachment permit shall not encompass the proposed alteration to the city sidewalk until it can be determined if the proposed alteration requires planning board approval. 18, resolution to approve the replacement position for a deputy city controller due to the expected retirement of the individual currently holding the assistant controller's position. This is a competitive civil service position with a starting salary range between $65,000 and $68,000 and will be a 7-hour standard workday based upon Warren County Civil Service rules. Any new creation of position must be favorably approved by the Common Council. 19 is a resolution to approve the warrant. Do we have a motion for a roll call vote?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Electric,
Yes.
Councilman Donovan,
Yes.
Councilman Landry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas,
Yes.
Councilman Biden,
Yes.
Councilman Good.
Yes.
Great, thank you very much. And so resolution 11 that was pulled is a resolution to authorize the controller to increase revenue line A 00999-4089, general government aid, ARPA, by $5,000 to increase budget line, expense line A 1120-4479, other contracted services, by $5,000 to contract up to that amount with Bob Curtis to assist as a consultant with the Mayor's Special Projects Committee. And so Councilman Lapham, you want to pull for discussion?
Yeah. I'm on the Special Projects Committee. I think what we're doing right now we're working on overnight parking first, and then we have a number of items to consider with regard to further parking. And I don't think that we're at a point about to get work off to a consultant. So I don't think that it's the time to be doing this. We can, as we develop a backlog of things that we need to have consultant work with, then that would be the more appropriate time, in my opinion.
Councilwoman Gooden, do you want to tell us a little bit about your request that you brought to me and why we were thinking that it was a good idea to use Bob in this fashion?
Yes. Well, the proposal is for Bob Curtis to be a consultant to the special projects for the task of the no parking, 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. And I think that it's a small consultant's fee, and I think it's put to good use because Bob, we're very fortunate to have Bob. He's worked with the city for over 30+ years, and I know that he knows inside and out parking codes. I think he's the guru of this, and I want to do the best job that I can, and I know that I need guidance, and I think that is, I think he's the best person to help us right now, and I'd like for him to take the lead and, you know, guide us through it. And I want it to be done because it hasn't been done in such a long time. And I don't know about codes and those type of things and writing them. I don't. So I just think that right now for this project, and I think that the consultation fee is not a lot. $40 an hour.
$40 an hour is what Bob
That's my
asked. So Mary came to me with this request. It was more of not just for the work, but like to attend all the meetings, to start to give us the history.
Right.
But I do appreciate Councilman Lapham's concern, right? We don't want to spend any money that we don't need to, but with the huge enormity, I think all of you know, I've already received probably more calls about our parking, just re-implementing the laws that we had on the books prior to COVID. Just those alone, probably 24 calls, both for enforcing the parking laws and against enforcing the parking laws. And so I thought it was a big thing, a huge thing. It's probably a long-term project right now. The Special Projects Committee has really started with the overnight parking. So that was the thinking. And Bob said if you could do that, I'd be willing to come to every meeting and to work on it. And then that's why I came to you. And Councilman Lapham and I had spoken about this. We both respect Bob and respect Mary's idea, and I think his is just not now, not yet. We don't need it right now, but I think that the feeling is we'd like him even if we don't necessarily need it at this point. I don't think. And again, Councilman Lapham and I both just it was not huge thought either way. I mean, neither of us are upset by this or anything. He has the concern, do we really need to spend the money? And we were thinking yes, but I'll let you now ask questions and weigh in on what your thoughts are, and then when we're done, we'll have a vote, okay? So go ahead.
That's good. Two questions. One is, where would this expense be in the budget?
Well, that's what the resolution is, to move it out of ARPA money and just put it in the clerk's office to hold. And it would be billed at a rate that Bob would at the end of every month. We've had other consultants, and what happens is they then send us a bill and say, this is how many hours we've spent on this project, and then I review that. We talk to the department head and say, is that really what they did? And then it would come out of that money. But in no way does anybody think that this 5,000 would actually be used at this point. Couldn't imagine. I wonder if Bob will actually submit all the, I assume he'll work many hours and not submit a bill for him, but I don't want to speak negatively that way either. That's where it would come from. That's what the resolution is.
And if we pass this resolution now, there could always be a possibility that you don't need to pay Bob anything, correct?
That's correct. If he didn't submit any hours, or as he submitted them, if anybody felt that it was too much, or we could always stop it at any time too.
And who would be the person that would determine that he was needed for whatever?
So he's attending the meetings, and was going to do this work, and so that committee, he'd meet with the committee, and the committee would say, we'd like you to do this research, or again, send the updates of where they are. The update that Mary read to us all was really done by Councilman Lapham, and I know he doesn't mind doing it and feels comfortable with it, but that was the object of doing this, is to have Bob send those updates. They would determine what topics they wanted to address, and he would do some work to support that, and then submit us a bill for it. That was the idea.
And I agree with what you said. I mean, Bob did a lot of work in our redistricting at no cost to us whatsoever. And I think he's a pretty fair individual. Like Mary said, he's got a lot of background. So if this resolution just basically sends us in a direction that we know he would be the consultant that we would utilize, I have no problem with that.
So I have, I guess, a question and maybe a different concern about this. I have no doubt that Bob would do a good job. He has a ton of knowledge. He's given us his time already. After his retirement, he deserves to be paid for his time. All of that is fine. But we do have a full-time community development person, and planning and urban planning kind of fits under that umbrella. So I'm just wondering, this was my previous concern at budget time, is I don't want us to be paying consultant fees when we have increased full-time staff to do those kind of jobs. So I'm just wondering if that was considered, if it was something that our current staff said, I can't do this, we need more help, or?
No, I mean, this project was part, sure, go ahead.
Well, my thinking was, between Bob and I, because I did the job for 32 years too, and Bob was 30 plus years, and so my thinking was that Bob, he was the best person to lead us
In this project.
in this project.
And again, they had already, the committee had started working on this. Now, we do agree that community development and economic development are concerns of that, and we've invited them to come to the committee.
So this too is a thing that it's hard for us to make a determination that we need to have more management over this versus having more, discussions, more meetings, more getting information together. We don't have the information on parking sensors. We don't have the review from the downtown parking study. So we need all that information first. So I see no point to go forward with this resolution until we get that information together.
Well, we think that Mary came to me and made the request. I thought it was a good one, and I thought it was worth it. But Diana, to answer your question, I have not assigned this to anybody. It's a committee that's looking at the parking in general, and the staff would certainly support that committee. But the head of the committee was saying, I'd like to have a guy with 40 years experience looking at the stuff involved in it. And he then said, well, I'd love to, but to catch every meeting and to do this work, I'd like you to consider it. So that was it. There's nobody that has said that we do agree that both the economic development and the community development director are coming and bringing information. Jeff's already been asked to give us a full information from the sensors, and we just got the summary of the parking study, and that will be coming to your committee soon. But not seeing them is the same thing, that's all.
So it still comes down to, we have material to ingest before we make any kind of decisions about what we want to do in terms of leading this through. So I think that we're at a point where we could table this for, a few sessions until we get to that point.
But to Councilman Landry's point, it's just because we approve this resolution doesn't mean, it's up to us to say to Bob.
I feel like we should be voting on a resolution when we have something clear in front of us. I don't think we have something clear in front of us right now because we don't know those points about what's in the parking study, what's in our data. You know, we're not making, I don't see the inherency of putting this together at this time.
Well, the resolution is to approve moving $5,000 from ARPA funds into the city clerk so that we can enter into an agreement with Bob to help him, to have him assist that committee. And so it's very clear what we're asking. It's okay if you don't think it's needed.
This is my concern with it.
Sure.
Is that the moment that we move the money over there, then our common council doesn't weigh in on anything after that. We are the purse for the city government. We're not beyond that.
You as a council member and the other council member and one other council member on that committee, you would certainly be aware of Bob's fees and would, if you didn't think it was worthy, would tell me not to do it. Now, you have ultimate control. And it doesn't, just because it's there, doesn't mean that that Bob can spend indiscriminately. You're the one who's actually in the committee.
The common council shouldn't be appropriating funds when we don't know what we're going to be doing, is what I'm saying. And there might be no reason to have somebody going on to do this kind of research until we get to the point that it's actually needed. We're committing to spending money that we don't know that we need to spend. That is my issue with it.
No, after you.
I have a different concern. I think it's ARPA, it's a small amount. I think Bob would do a good job. I also trust I mean, you're the people on this committee, I'm not, so if you have the need for more expertise. I just still have the concern about paying consultant fees and paying more in full-time staff fees. I just wanna note that, that's my concern. This is a small amount. I'm comfortable with what you're asking for, with reservation that I don't want to see us continuing to pay consulting fees when we have more full-time staff who under their job description kind of is planning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like looking at a parking plan for the city, I would think is the role of community development, economic development partially, and we've already paid for a study. So I'm just a little concerned about that. That's it.
Any other questions?
But my thinking is that it goes hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mary, okay,
Yeah.
before, I don't mean,
No, please tell me.
I'm not trying to be adversarial.
No, really
Again, this is a consistent concern I had from before,
Absolutely.
is that we used to, that part of our city government has grown substantially over the last few years. You know, we used to have a cost sharing with EDC for our economic development person.
Okay.
And now we have a full-time person that we pay, and then he has an assistant, and we have a full-time community development person, and we still pay some money to Warren County Economic Development Corporation, and now we're, you know, looking at a very small, modest consulting fee for something that's kind of under that umbrella. So I'm just concerned about increasing our overhead in general, and then continuing to pay consulting fees. But I do recognize that Bob has specific expertise in this area and that it's a small amount you're asking for. So I'm not going to stop this, but I want to know my reservation. Okay. Thank you. Yep.
Any further, Jim?
Okay.
So, I'll read the resolution again, just so you're aware. And again, it was, the chair of the committee has asked, resolution to authorize the controller to increase revenue line A 009999-4089 government aid ARPA by $5,000 and increase the budget expense line A 11-210-4479 other contracted services by $5,000 to contract up to that amount with Bob Curtis, assistant as a consultant with the Mayor's Special Projects Committee, as attached. Do we have a motion for a roll call vote?
So,
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Large.
Yes.
Councilman Donahue,
Yes.
Councilman Landry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas,
Yes.
Councilman Lapple,
No.
Councilwoman Cruz.
Yes.
Thank you. Old business, Councilman Clark, old business?
I don't know if this qualifies as old business, but I just wanted to congratulate the councilwoman from the 5th Ward for an incredible Martin Luther King Day event. It was awesome. It was awesome to be in person. The students did an incredible job. I was proud of all of them, but the young lady that read a speech in sign language, my mother, my grandmother, my sister are deaf, and I understand the ability that young lady had to have to do that is incredible. And it was just amazing to see. And I just want to thank you again and your committee for organizing that event. It was so great, and it was so good to be back together again, singing loud and proud and marching down the street again. It was wonderful, and I just want to give you praise and glory for that. So congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, it was great. Let's see, that it, Councilman Clark, old business, that it?
That's it.
And Councilman Donahue, old business.
Nothing, except get out of here.
All right.
It's my wife's birthday.
All right.
That's gracious.
Councilman Landry. Keep in mind, it's his wife's birthday.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm always confused with what's old business and new business.
That's
Anyway,
right.
under old business, I've had a number of constituents in the 2nd Ward who approached me over the last 2 to 3 weeks who tell me that the white tree lights in downtown Glens Falls make the downtown area magical. And, it does add a certain ambiance to downtown. If you go into other communities, some communities do that. They leave the lights and the trees year-round. And I don't know whether that's something that we can consider, whether it comes through the bid or the collaborative, who's paying the bill for the lights, all of that. But I'd just like to move that suggestion forward, Mr. Mayor, to your office for further research.
Thank you, thank you.
And-
We pay the lights, but the bid and bought the lights themselves. We put the lights up and down, and that is to one of a great example of private-public partnership. So, there you go.
And the other old business, and I will direct this to the deputy clerk who's sitting here, are we selling hunting and fishing licenses yet? Not yet. Maybe, Mr. Mayor, you could write a letter to our state representatives, Senator Steck and Assemblyman Simpson, and tell them about it. Warner, I take that back. I take that back. Correct. I don't know how you tell that, but, and let them know, listen, we're on the kick for revenue, and there's revenue to be had from that, and we've been now 1 year without the ability to sell fishing, hunting license, or sportsman's licenses out of the clerk's office.
Right, thank you.
That's all.
Let's see, old business, Councilwoman Palmer, please.
I'll be brief. That's why. I just want to concur that your branch of the NAACP does such a service to the community with that event because of the opportunities it gives to those students to participate and to come together. And I always feel better when I leave than when I came in. So
Amen.
thank you for doing that.
Awesome. Thank you. Old business, Councilman Lapp.
I have a cousin who's deaf, and at lunch around Christmas time, she said, "Why doesn't the Common Council have a sign language interpreter during the meetings?" So I just wanted to put that out there.
Right, we looked into it. I know that in Special Olympics, we found them, we used to have them at all of our events, and they became expensive. But I think we should look at it, see if we can get some volunteers to help us with that and change,
I will consult with family.
Oh, that's right, yeah, thank you. So,
since they were
Just a quick
teachers.
question in regards to that. Peter, could we do for people who watch on YouTube, can you do closed caption?
We can't do it live, but we can do it afterwards, post.
Those closed captions are not very good, and probably Jim's family would be able to tell you that.
Yeah.
Closed caption is not exact science right now in YouTube, which is how we deliver this. But,
Still,
it can be done through a company called Rendering, and, it's not that expensive. It's relatively inexpensive.
could you let us know, yeah, what that is? Great. Councilwoman Gooden, old business.
I just want to thank everybody for coming out for the MLK. It was awesome. And I want to give a special shout out to the Glens Falls Police Department. You know, they're always on time. They lead us through the parade and they block the streets and they're just so, you know, I love interacting with them, and my grandchildren were there and the interaction was, you know, it's needed. So I just want to thank them for all that they do and their great assistance.
Awesome, thank you. New business, Councilman Clark.
Just a reminder that we had this last snowstorm, we're gonna have another snowstorm. It just would appreciate our citizens and businesses to shovel their sidewalks and keep them clean for kids that are walking to school or people walking to wherever they need to walk to, or handicap community that needs to utilize the sidewalks. So if people would keep that in the forefront of their minds, and if they see a sidewalk that isn't shoveled, they can be a good neighbor and shovel the sidewalk for that person. So, used to do that all the time.
That's why I had boys. Send them right over.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
apologize. It didn't come out the way I wanted. Let's say, Councilman Donahue, new business.
None.
Councilman Landry, new business.
Yes, lots going on this weekend at the Civic Center with 3 home games beginning Friday night, other on Saturday, one on Sunday afternoon. Good time to get the family out, get out and support the Thunder if you would. Congratulations on the reopening of the New Way Lunch, known by locals as Dirty John's on South Street. The recent renovation of the property has again helped our continued upgrade of downtown South Street without Dirty John's, who called South Street home for over 70 years. I wrote here like a day without sunshine, but I think, but like a day without heartburn. St. Mary's Academy, located right here in downtown Glens Falls, celebrating 140 years of great community presence. And remember the downtown Glens Falls community, they're having an open house on Sunday, January 28th at 12:30. I know that some of us here in the dais tonight, including our mayor, are alumni of this great institution. I was also happy to hear about the addition of another resource officer for the city schools. Officer Peter Casentino will join Officer John Norton in helping to provide a safe environment for our children. I know I work closely with Pete when I was with the Housing Authority. He has a wonderful reputation. He has the right personality for that kind of job, and I wish him well in that. As Councilman at Large Clark said, winter arrived this week. As usual, our DPW is on top of the storm from the onset, and I'd like to thank them for a job well done. As residents, you can help when we have these storms, and here's a couple of things as reminders. As Jim said, please shovel your sidewalks as soon as possible, but definitely within 24 hours of the storm. We're a walking city, we're a walking school district, so it keeps our pedestrians and especially our children safe. Similarly, if your home's at an intersection that fortunately has had the installation of a handicap ramp down into the street, our plows are going to plow those in just like they plow in our driveway. There's nothing you can do about that. So if you're a resident in a neighborhood that has one of those, take 5 minutes and get some good exercise and shovel those out. And last but not least, my annual, don't forget to shovel out your fire hydrant. It only takes a couple of minutes to clear snow from around the fire hydrant, and a few minutes may make the difference of life and death and event of a fire in the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Palmer, that was
I had a chance to try one of our newer restaurants, Glens Bagels, recently, and it was really good. I don't know if anyone's been there.
Yeah,
but
it's
yeah. I had a yeah, it's open, and they were very friendly. We tried some everything bagels and a knish. It was really good. I also wanted to thank Councilman Lapham, Councilman Landry, and Councilman Clark for volunteering for Fire and Ice. We still need volunteers, so if anybody wants to do that, that would be really helpful, or if anybody you know wants to. And then Supervisor Bramer and I will be holding our Third Ward Community Forum on February 8th. That will be at 499 Glens Street, which is true north. That's where my practice is, and there's a large community room that we can use. We're particularly hoping that some of our new constituents come out because the boundaries have changed, and I'd like to engage and get to know some of the people who I hadn't known as well before.
What time?
6:30.
And what day is that?
It's the 8th. Let me see what the day of the week is. It's a Wednesday.
6:30.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is that it?
Yep, that's it.
New business, Councilman Lapp.
Last week, I guess it was, maybe it was a couple of weeks ago, we got some feedback from the First Ward Community Action Committee about a resident who's having problems with noise, similar to like the light thing. It was a nurse. She's unable to sleep through the night because of noise coming from a business nearby. So looking at the noise ordinances that we have in code, they seem restricted to trash compactors and car stereos. So we'll be looking to dig into that. It's probably going to be in buildings and codes, just like when we went in on the light thing. So I'll be, next meeting, I'll bring something to share with the group.
And Councilman Lapp, yeah,
They going or them?
that's right. It is, and he's being literal.
That part
The
of
current sound law only pertains to car radios and trash compactors. So, there's room for improvement of the law.
And SUVs in that parking lot now, it was a month ago.
Yes, and I've met with the city attorney and the building codes director, and we are looking at everything we can to, but right now the law about the sound, she's sending us stuff, and it's the backing up of the equipment in the middle of the night that is rightly so, or not rightly so, but she's saying this is keeping me awake, and we understand that, but the current law is not pertained to that. So they're not in violation of that, but we need to look at that, what they are and what they're doing, and see if we can help this resident.
This is something that came up, I think, at our last building and codes
Yeah.
meeting, and we did talk about kind of putting it on our agenda. Justin's finishing his training, and we have a few things that we're trying to roll out, but it's definitely there for us to look at as we move forward.
Thank you. New business, Councilwoman Goodman.
Just at our next special projects meeting will be February 15th at 2 o'clock in the mayor's conference.
Thank you.
And anyone's invited.
And so I've got a couple things. One is in your packet. There's the No Kid Hungry School Nutrition funding opportunity that was given to us by Ben Driscoll, councilman of the, not, excuse me, supervisor of the Fifth Ward. So wanted to make sure you had that. I'll make sure I get it to Glensville School District, but just wanted you to have it. Second of all, Councilwoman Palmer, will you sign me up for some fire and ice? I've been neglectful in ice signing up, but let me know what night you might need me most, okay? And maybe even a couple nights. I'm not going anywhere in February. I'm staying here. So I'm on the road. I was used to be on the road a lot more than I am now. Third, there in your packets, what didn't make it to the agenda, In your packets are the report from Building and Codes that you guys had requested. They'll be part of your monthly reports moving forward. So in addition to the report, Justin wanted me to point out that the new building permit application has been completed. You saw the resolution for the completed fee schedule that the department's done, which is fantastic work. And now the new monthly report will be part of it. It's in your packet, and you will get it monthly for everyone to see. That will be both include permits that are issued, violations that are opened and closed, and their status. And then finally, in your packets are the 2022 annual report from the Glens Fire Department, Chief Schrammel. He wanted you to have this. He gave it to me just today, the final copy of it. I wanted you to see it and ask questions, and then you can let me know. When we talked once that we were asking Chief Schrammel to come in and speak to you, and so let me know if you want to do that after or before the next council meeting. Please just let me know what's preferable for you guys, and he'd be glad to come and talk to you about his. It'll probably have to be an executive session. He wants to talk about personnel, let you know where he's headed, the success they've had just recently in new recruits, and his needs for the future. So, okay. That is it. Anybody from the community want to public comment, speak to the council? Seeing none. Peter, anybody online that wants to know? Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
You're supposed to say so.